everybody. My name is Emily. I'm with the Leaf Youth Program here at Common Good City Farm. I'm out here on the farm today, so you can kind of see the field behind me. So thank you for joining us on our Instagram Live. We are doing these youth lessons on Instagram every Sunday at 4:30. And we are also doing Zoom lessons for youth now, and those are on Wednesdays at 4:30. So if that's something you're interested in and want to find more details out about, feel free to message us on Instagram, or you can email me, Emily, at commongoodcityfarm.org, to get all the details for that if you have a elementary aged youth that might be interested in doing those classes with us. But so today we are going to talk all about flowers on the farm, and we're going to do egg carton flower craft. But we're going to start by looking at some of the flowers on the farm and talking about flowers in general. So we've talked about the basic parts of a plant in these lessons before. All plants have roots, stems, leaves, seeds, flowers, and fruits. They all do really important jobs for the plant to keep it alive, keep it healthy, and to make new plants. But today we're going to talk about the flowers, which is why I have these flowers here in front of me. But not all flowers look like what you might put in a bouquet or what you just might generally think of. For example, broccoli is the flower of its plant. So flowers can look a lot of different ways and still be the flower of the plant, that important part of the plant life cycle. What they do is they are an important part of making seeds, and seeds are how new plants are made, as we know. So flowers have pollen inside of them, and when pollen from one flower is spread to another flower, that is how the plants fertilize, and that is how they produce their seeds and their fruits. Different plants have different looks that might draw in different pollinators. So common pollinators are bees, butterflies, regular flies, moths, hummingbirds, and even bats. Those are all pollinators, and because they all have, different shapes and different ways they would land on a plant, they're drawn into different plants. But in order to attract pollinators, that's why so many flowers have, a really nice bright color, or they might have a really strong scent, and that's to draw in those pollinators to help advance their life cycle. So we're gonna head out into the farm just to take a look at some of the flowers that we have growing here, because there's a lot of different shapes and sizes, and I want to show off some of what we have. Although I'm not a flower expert, so I'm not going to be able to name all of them, but I'm going to flip you guys around. Starting here near our hoop house. The cool thing about checking out the flowers on the farm is I think we're going to see some pollinators as well. So right now there is a bee right here pollinating. So these are some obviously flowers that are popular for bees. They're going right in there to the yellow pollen and flying all around. We're also going to take a look here at some of the flowers we have in our youth garden. We have some zinnias here, and you can see they are those nice bright colors that I talked about, and they have that yellow pollen sticking out in the center. So we still have all of this. All right. All right, so we're just checking out some of the flowers we have on the farm. We're also looking for pollinators. I just saw a butterfly fly away. Oh, and here we have a pollinator right here on this flower. Checking it out. I do see a question about volunteers. Right now, we are not taking new volunteers at the farm, but we do hope to open that program back up again. But right now, we're only using volunteers that have been with the farm before. Oh, look at this butterfly. All right. And we're just gonna keep going a little bit down our path so that I can show you some different types of flowers. This is our herb garden. So like I said, flowers might have beautiful colors and strong smells. This herb garden definitely has strong smells. So I always see pollinators in here, bees and moths and butterflies. And so this is a flower too. It doesn't look like the ones we're gonna have in our bouquet, but you can see that this is like the purple flower on a basil plant. And we're gonna take our rest of the way down the path just to see we have some beautiful purple, sort of tall, long flowers here as well. And these are called cone flowers. Most of them have lost their petals, but this is actually the echinacea plant. So you may have heard of it for different teas or herbal remedies. And they had these pink petals, is what they look like with the petals on. But most of them here in the field, as you can see, do not have their petals anymore. But so all of our plants here on the farm are, they all have flowers of their own variety. These super tall plants, I don't see any flowers. Oh, here's a flower. This is the okra blossom. It's kind of closed up and this one has fallen off. But these are a really beautiful white flower that opens up. But I don't see any open right now on our okra. But we're gonna head back to the table. I'll just keep it on the farm though, so you can get some sights of what the farm looks like at this time of year. More flowers here in our herb garden. These sort of purple, long, dangly flowers here. And then we're gonna take a look up close at some flowers that I cut earlier that I have at the table. All right, I'm gonna flip you guys back around. Thanks everyone who's watching. So I'm gonna just get back to our spot here and talk just a little bit more before we start our craft demo. Talk a little bit more about the parts of a flower while we can check them out. All right. So I have a couple flowers from other areas of the farm to show you. This one's already sort of falling apart because I had pulled it apart to look at the different pieces. We've got one right here. Got some flowers here in our vase. So the outside part that you can see on the flower, the colorful part usually, those are the petals. And then this other outside part, these green layered parts that are kind of like petals, but they're a different texture and they're usually green. These are called the sepals. And then inside the flower, you also have a couple important parts. The female parts of the flower are called the pistil, and the pistil looks like a vase with a long neck, they say. So this is going to be hard to tell, but this is from that flower. This is like a very little piece of the center, but it does look a little bit like the shape of a vase. And then the stamen, which are the male parts of the inside of the flower, those usually look more like sort of like a stick with some pollen on top. And you can see those actually a little better in this one. There are little filaments. They're very small with yellow. So I know it's hard to see on this screen, but if you ever have a chance to pick a flower or get a flower in a home bouquet, you can look closely and see if you can find the petals. That's the colorful part again. The sepals, those are the green part that helps hold all the petals together. And then see if you can identify your pistil and your stamen on the inside of the flower. And see if you can find your pollen. So most pollen is a bright color, usually bright yellow or orange, which is why a lot of flowers have that bright yellow color inside. So that's a little bit about flowers. But today we are going to make a flower craft, egg carton flowers. So this is, let me just show you my example, is in my bouquet, because I think sometimes it looks fun to stick it in with all your other flowers. So this is what we're making, an egg carton flower. You can put it on a stem and stick it in with other flowers. You could make so many that you can make your own bouquet just of those. Or another idea is you can do them on a string. So these are two other examples. You could make a little flower garland as well. So to make this craft, what you need are just a basic cardboard egg carton, a pair of scissors. You're gonna want something that you can use to decorate your egg carton. So I have some kid-safe paints here. You could also use markers, anything that you have dark enough colors that it'll show up on your cardboard. And then you're gonna want something that you can use to poke a little hole. So I just use a ballpoint pen for that. That's for when you're attaching your flower to its stem. And then for the stem, you have a lot of options. You could have some wire, you could have string if you wanted to make it more of like a garland, or kind of fun is to go looking for a stick that you can use as your stem. So this one I found here on the farm. It's an actual wooden stick, and we're going to use that to make one of our flowers. So the first step for this craft is to break apart your egg carton into your individual flowers. I like to use about 2 of these egg cups per flower, so if you have 1 egg carton, then you're going to be able to make 6 flowers with this. But you're not going to use this part, so I usually just rip this edge off. Similarly, take off the flap edge. And then you're going to want to break it into individual egg cups. So you can do that, again, just by ripping carefully so that it doesn't rip through the center. Or you can get out your scissors and use your scissors to just sort of cut them apart. At this stage, don't worry about the final shape of each one, but just go ahead and separate them into individual cups. Here. Like I said, you can kind of rip some of them. If it's not ripping well, you can get your scissors going. And then I have a couple that I had already cut as well. So we have plenty of individual egg cups here. So then the next thing you want to do is you could just leave them like this if you don't want to deal with scissors, or you can kind of shape them so that you have a more purposeful shape to your final flower. So I like to do 2 different shapes. Sometimes I like to make them pointy, kind of more like a sunflower petal, and I'll just cut into it. You can even cut the big section into 2 petals, and then just kind of make it nice and even so that they're all kind of like nice, even. But again, this does not have to be perfect. You're not looking for anything particular. Once it's all together, it'll work and look good. If you don't like the pointy petals, if you want it to look more like maybe our zinnias, you can also just cut rounded petals with your scissors, and they don't have to be super big or long for it to still work and look good. Even this one, which just kind of looks like I just sort of cut down the cup, this will actually work really well to make the inside of one of our flowers. So then the next step is to take your shaped cups and go ahead and start to decorate them. So I like to use my paintbrush and my paint, but you can use whatever you have. You could even just put stickers on them, and it could be a fun project if you don't have paint or markers that are sticking on there very well. But I like to use, bright colors, because like we said, flowers like to be bright colors and they like to smell good. So I'm going to make the inside of this one, paint it all the way red. And so even though I'm going to put 2 together to make each flower, I do usually paint the front and the back of both. So if you have like kids paint like I do, it washes off really easily. You can go ahead and just, touch it a little, your fingers will get a little messy. If you have a paint that's going to be harder to wash off or something, that you can always, just do the inside, let that dry, come back and do the outside. So that's what I'm going to get a different color and do the outside of this one. And then I have a couple that I painted earlier and let dry so that we can go ahead and do the next step. So I have 4 here so that we can make 2 flowers. I have some that I cut with sort of that round shape, and some that I cut with that longer pointed petal shape. So once you have them decorated how you want, and like I said, they don't have to be decorated to look like actual flowers. Some of my examples, I like to do patterns, polka dots, stripes, whatever makes it fun. But then the next step is to attach your stem and sort of put the whole flower together. And it's very simple. Like I said, I just use a ballpoint pen, or if your scissors have a good point, you could use that. But the pen's kind of safe because it's not so sharp that you could actually hurt yourself with it. So you can use the pen and sort of poke through the base of your flower just to get a little bit of a hole, and then poke through from the top as well and that's going to give you a nice spot for your stem. I already did this one the same way. You're going to choose which of your flowers is going to be your top, where you're going to see the inside, and which of them is going to be the part where you see the most of the outside. So this one I didn't really paint that inside as well, so this will be my bottom. I'm going to use a little glue now. You could use hot glue for this if you want it to dry really quickly. You also could probably get away without using glue, but I think they start to slip apart a little bit, so I like to put a little bit of Elmer's glue. So I'm going to put this just in the center. I'll show you. I sort of put a pretty thick circle there because since these are uneven shapes, if you put too little, it won't exactly touch each other. So then I'm going to put my two flowers together, and I like to stick them together so that the petals kind of alternate. That way it looks like a little more like a flower. Now's when you want to add your stem through the holes that you made. If for some reason your holes didn't line up, you can go ahead and poke through again with the same pen. Make sure you have space there. I'm going to use this stick that I said was a good option for this one to show you real quick. You can kind of, so my stick has a really nice little like piece sticking out that's going to keep my flower in place. But what I'll also do is I'll put a little bit of glue in the center around the stick, just to keep the flower in place so it doesn't slide down the stick later. Since this is Elmer's glue, it'll take a little while to dry, but you can I'll just let it sit, and it should keep my stem sort of there a little bit longer term. So I have my first flower here, and it just needs to let the glue dry. And then I'll show you real quick how I would do it with the string or the wire, just so you can see different options. Again, we're going to poke the hole through the center of the base using just a ballpoint pen, or something else like if you have a skewer, if you have a wooden kitchen skewer, that can be great to use as your stem. Pipe cleaners are a really great option to use as a stem. So pipe cleaners or wire like I have here, what you're going to want to do is you're going to put your flowers together again, and you're going to want to poke through the holes. But because you have this cool wire that can kind of be formed into all different shapes, you can actually make yourself your flower inside parts. So you want to take the wire and make a little loop and twist it together, and that'll be your center, and that can hold your flowers together. What you saw me forget to do was to put any glue between the two sections of flower, and like I said, it's still going to hold together, but the glue can make it more secure for long term. But then to keep it from sliding down, you're also going to want to maybe pinch your wire here and put in just like a little loop there, twist that again, and sort of lay it against the bottom, and then twist it back down so that you can make your stem. Cut this off. If you're making a bouquet of these, the wire is kind of fun because you can make all sorts of directions. Again, you could do it the same way with a pipe cleaner. I have made enough of these before with kids at the farm that we made a whole vase full of them. But if you just want to make a couple and you want a cool way to display them, I actually think they look really nice in a bouquet with some real flowers as well. Like I suggested before, if you don't have any pipe cleaners, wire, sticks, you can use just string, and you can use that ballpoint pen again to help you poke it through. Then you want to tie a knot to hold your flower in place. Put some glue on that knot to keep it in place. And what's fun about doing it on a string is that you could then do a whole garland, and you could use this garland to, could make a flower necklace, you could decorate part of your house with it. So there's a lot of things you can do with these finished flowers. But really the fun is also just in the making of them. I know here at the farm when we work with the kids, they really love the chance to get to paint something, so it can be a lot of fun. So I hope you enjoy and try making a egg carton flower at home.